Hi everyone, and welcome back to Nuna's Nunchi, where I do a deep dive into some of your favorite K-dramas from a mental health perspective. Today, I want to talk about one of my favorite characters. I feel like I say favorite a lot, but a favorite character of mine that I admire in Reply 1988. I told you Reply 1988 is one of those gems of a K-drama. It has so much content to share related to mental health, but I want to outline Deok-sun. Deok-sun, the female protagonist. I'm going to show two different sides of what I want to portray of Deok-sun. First of all, she's heartwarming, right? Exudes warmth. She is that middle child, right? The one that kind of gets overlooked in the family. She is not the traditional, typical Korean top-notch student, okay? She actually is more at the bottom of her class, and she does try hard, but then you see, comical moments where she falls asleep trying to study. Her older sister, on the other hand, is in Seoul National University, so she's super smart, and you have Deok-sun, who knows that she's not exactly the brightest person in the bunch, and there are times she lets it define her and it bothers her, but overall, her personality, her character, her integrity, the warmth, the genuine, the authenticity that she exudes is what wins all our hearts, right? Well, the reason why I want to point out specifically episode 14 is because I just want to show what it's like to be a person like Deok-sun. In episode 14, the class president's mother approaches Deok-sun's teacher saying, so what's a student that you recommend that would be able to help me with what I'm about to tell you? And as a viewer, you really don't know yet what it is until the incident happens in that classroom. If you haven't watched it, this is a spoiler alert. The teacher recommends Deok-sun to the mom, and the mom's like, oh, she must be super smart and bright and, really stand out. And the teacher's like, no, not really. It was actually a funny scene. She's like, no, not at all. Not a very good student. But she says so many other good things about Deok-sun and why she chose her to help out the class president and the class president's mom. So what happens is the class president has epilepsy and has a seizure in class. And I guess they anticipate this might happen, and they wanted a student in the class asking the teacher who would be good to help the situation if that happens ever in class and the teacher's not around, to make sure that she's safe and to take care of her. And you see Deok-sun spring into action a couple scenes later, and then you realize then it goes backwards. You know how K-dramas go backwards and rewinds and tells you what happens? And so what I really like is that Deok-sun kept her cool. Obviously, it's clear that she's a little flustered, but she was instructed what to do and takes care of it. And what we see happen next is you see the class president, after she recovers in the infirmary and realizes she wakes up from her seizure and starts crying, knowing that now she has to face her classmates because she had a seizure in class, and that is embarrassing. And especially at that age, high school, where it's a lot about saving face, and then you have a culture that's a lot about saving face and looking good, and she's the class president, so she put a lot of pressure on herself. But she comes back, and guess what she finds? The class acting like nothing ever happened. Now, I'm not saying I like the avoidant part of it, but in this case, understanding the context of the Korean culture, knowing that there is such a stigma, I thought it was well done. She came back in bracing herself. The class president came back in bracing herself, and Deok-sun and all the classmates were like nothing ever happened. In fact, they approached her normally, like they would as the class president, and they ate lunch as normal. And what helped in that situation was that the class president felt normal. So her condition was normalized. I like the way they handle that. I think that was very well done for a high school setting where, it's not like you're completely pretending. I think the class president knew what they were doing. It's not like, and she didn't want attention to herself, and that's usually how it is in high school. So you don't want attention. You want to feel like you're part of your peers. Everything's normal. You don't stand out because of a condition that you have. And then being class president makes it worse. So Deok-sun, I'm assuming, we don't really see this, briefed the classmates and led by example to make sure that the class president felt fine. There was no stigma attached to her condition, epilepsy, having a seizure, and you know what happened? The student went back, the class president went back to her mom, and the mom, this is just a heartwarming scene, approaches Deok-sun later and hugs her, saying, you're a blessing. thank you for being you. My daughter just came back and told me what happened, and she knew, the class president's mom knew that it was Deok-sun that kind of really made everything possible for the class president to feel good about herself. This is a lot about self-esteem, self-confidence, peer relationships, so important in high school. I wanted to point this out in Deok-sun's character, and you know what, watching the scene, I just flashed back to high school and realized, wow, I wish someone had done that for me. Not like I suffered from seizures, but if something embarrassing happened, it's humiliating. Sometimes it turns into a bullying situation where people make fun of you, and in this situation, very well done. I thought it was great for a K-drama to point out an epileptic condition, someone actually having a seizure. You see it happen, Deok-sun remaining cool, knowing what to do, which helped everybody else to be calm in that situation. And then afterwards, normalizing it and destigmatizing her condition. I'm talking about a physical condition, but same thing with mental health. If we're gonna correlate that to mental health, to really address the stigma, dispel the stigma, what can we do? Well, we want to normalize it, make it like it happens all the time without being avoidant, right? There's that boundary. You don't want to completely ignore it. And I don't think that's what Deok-sun and the classmates did. Plus, when you're positioned in leadership, it's not about hiding a condition. Everybody now knows about the condition, but just making her feel not bad about it or pointing it out and handling it the way they did. I thought it was great. So I want that also to be correlating with mental health. If someone has a mental health condition, a physical condition, even physical conditions at school, they're also stigmatized. When you are a diabetic and you have to, prick yourself, you have to check your blood, right? Insulin. I know some students, as a mom, my kids' fellow students had to deal with that. And they do feel stigmatized. Everybody wants to feel normal, middle school and high school, like you fit in, right? Be part of the crowd. Later on is when you realize it's cool to stand out. So you'll get there, students, if you're watching this. But I think just in general, I want to point out, if you can watch that, specifically in episode 14, about a half an hour in or so, the situation that Deok-sun maneuvers, navigates through for all the classmates. She, in that sense, showed leadership. I really think that showed genuine leadership. To me, the character that'll go far a long way. In this day and age, innovation is key. And yes, hard skills are necessary. We need the schooling and education, and you want to do well in school. But that's not all about success. And in that very moment, when Deok-sun was able to control the classroom and everybody's reaction, because it could have been very different when the class president came back in after suffering that seizure, and it was not. And she felt accepted, and guess what? Most importantly, her mental health was not, I want to say, damaged. It didn't take a hit. She still felt confident about herself. And that's important. That's what I wanted to see the class president walk away with. And Deok-sun feeling thankful that she could be part of that, and then the class president's mom making her feel good. Wow, that was a great episode. I hope if you're a student, you can learn from that, because why I'm trying to normalize, destigmatize mental health. Stigma is such a big part of our culture. Looking good, yes, when you're a leader, especially in business, sure, it is very important to uphold a certain image. You are leading by example, but also vulnerability leads by example. Courage, it takes courage to be vulnerable. And I think at that moment, the class president already knew she was vulnerable and was able to show it without verbalizing it, right? Everything is very insinuated. And Deok-sun also, everybody knows what's going on. It's not about hiding it or really avoiding that issue. I want to be clear on that, because that's a big part of our culture too. Avoiding things, saving face, hiding it. That was not this. This was about making a classmate feel normal and that she still belonged, and also giving her the respect as a class president because she was the top student. So I hope that helps. My example in that one is just to really show a simple high school situation that was actually complex, but a simple result of what you can do if you're in that situation, not just in a school setting, but a work setting, to help someone else out. Being like Deok-sun, a character that I want to say showed extreme maturity in that point. Hey, it's kind of scary watching someone have a seizure and having to maneuver it and control her and actually calm the situation down and actually take care of the patient. Very scary for someone her age, but she did it well. And that to me will go way, way far in real life. Innovation's key in this workplace. I really believe I see a future for Deok-sun. We kind of know her future later on at the end, but I'm trying to say, point out, it's not just about her having to be the best student. She was not a very good student, but she had every other skill, those soft skills that are critical in our life that actually a lot in the Asian culture don't emphasize. I'm emphasizing that to you. That helps you get far, right? And breaking that bamboo ceiling. So I'm gonna start going on a tangent. So I just wanna focus on her character, how well she led by example to normalize someone's physical condition, which you can also do for mental health.